Hey, what's up? This is Tay. I just wanted to talk about something today that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, which is, you know, men, narcissistic men, and the images that they hide behind. So, this is a spiritual message, although I am talking about narcissistic men, and I understand that a lot of people see it as, personality disorder. I, being a spiritual person, know it to be a spiritual issue. It has a spiritual root. It's not just a personality disorder. People consist of, you know, different parts. We're not just human bodies with a brain. We have a spirit, we have a soul, you know, and the mind and the heart consist of are the soul. Together they form the soul. And so, a lot of these personality disorders are issues that are rooted in the soul. Um, and so this is a spiritual message. If you're not spiritual, then, of course, you won't get anything out of what I'm going to say. And and that's fine. This is, if you are spiritual, then you'll understand what I'm about to say. If you know that it's more than just what we see in front of us. You know that you believe in God. You know that there's something great. There's a higher power. Then you understand where I'm coming from. So anyway, let me just get right into it about narcissistic men and the images they hide behind. Well, basically, I mean, a man who or person, I mean, this goes for men and women, but a person who is evil and sick and twisted in their minds and is aware of this is not going to just outwardly display their anomaly. This is something that they're going to hide, they're going to cover up, and they're going to have, usually by the time a person like this reaches adulthood, they've had years and years of practice on how to disguise the sick being within them, or how to disguise their mental illness or what have you. They've had years and years of practice, so they're not going to just come out and they're not going to look, a lot of them, they're not going to look like crazy people off the bat. And if you're a well-adjusted person, maybe you're usually a happy person, you're a sensitive person, you're human, you have empathy, you have compassion, you have these things. But yet, you have a lot of trouble with other people, or you have a lot of problems getting along with people. You don't understand why. They're always pointing the finger at you. And when you look at people like that, they look like intelligent, well-mannered people. They're well-dressed. They have the degrees. They have the homes. They have their careers. They have their spouses. They have all these things. So you're looking at it like, well, I mean, this person has all these things. They're pointing the finger at me. Maybe it's something wrong with me because I don't have all those things. You may not have all the things that they have. But, I'm here to tell you that, this person, people who masquerade like that, who have all of their I's dotted and their T's crossed in, as far as their resumes of life, um, they tend to be, they tend to really disguise their sick inner core, and they're very well practiced at it. They're very well practiced at the image, and that's something that's important. And if you're a woman who's you're in your 20s or 30s and you're dating, or you're trying to date or whatever, or you're trying to have friendships, or you're trying to establish a career, or whatever, you're just going through life, and if you don't know certain things like this, I mean, life is going to be very, very difficult for you, because these are things that every lamb, and I say lamb because usually people like this are they're meant they're meant to be following God, but a lot of people don't. They choose not to because they don't believe in God, or they're atheist, or they're they have other beliefs, they have other belief systems or whatever, and or that they're exploring, and I understand that because you know at the same time, these people are real. They are really searching for answers, and they're authentic. They're not going to just blindly follow a religion. They're not going to just blindly, like, oh, everybody here is a Christian, I'm going to be a Christian. These people are people who are going to, search and study and, look at other belief systems. And I understand that. I understand that spiritual people tend to be more exploratory in their belief systems. However, I too have explored different belief systems, but I do now know that Jesus Christ is the truth and everything. But anyway, so like I was saying, like these people, they're gonna be hiding. They're gonna be hiding behind this facade, and they're gonna point fingers. They tend to point fingers at other people who are more empathetic or more sensitive and all that. But it's all basically a lie. Okay, so a guy who is or a person who is evil, and who's comfortable with that. Okay, they're comfortable with that. That's another thing that a lot of people don't realize. They're comfortable with the evil, they're comfortable with the demonic nature of themselves, and they've embraced that dark side of themselves, and they feel that it's superior to the rest of humanity. Okay, so a person who is in this mind frame, they although they feel this way, they know that it's not socially acceptable to be antisocial in that manner. So they're gonna be hiding behind a very carefully crafted image, and so they might have a hipster look, a preppy look. They could have like nice haircut. They could shop at a certain store and just they'll have like the latest haircut, the latest fashions. They'll have these things that draw attention away from the true self within that is deformed. They might have a certain career. They'll get the right career. They'll get a respectable career. They'll get they might have a partner or a spouse that looks like, maybe that person looks like a model or something, or that person looks really, really attractive or something, or has a lot of social standing, because all of this is about them, it's all to serve their image. So they're not going to be with somebody who some other people can talk about, or other people can point fingers at. They want to be with somebody who makes them look good, and they'll be hiding behind cultural norms like marriage and having kids and college and all that. All those cultural norms that are expected, whether it's an American cultural norm, or it's a cultural norm in India or Japan, or anywhere they are, they're going to follow those cultural norms because they need those cultural norms so that they can hide, and they can hide behind those. Okay, and so and also they'll pick up the fashion trends. They'll get titles. They might be Dr. So and so, or they'll be, they might be like a lawyer or, whatever. Um, they might be well educated. Um, it's anything that makes them look good and distracts from their self within. And not every narcissistic person is successful, but or sociopathic type of person is successful. But what I've noticed, because I move in certain circles. I'm educated, I'm college educated, and and I have advanced degrees and all that. So you know the circles that I move in, as far as, like, I guess what you could say middle class, I see a lot of this type of these type of people. Um, Now, I'm not sure what it would be like, as far as um, other classes. However, I know that it doesn't it that this type of behavior and this type of issue, this type of spiritual issue is all across the board. It's across all ethnicities and nations and all classes. It's from top to bottom. It's pervasive, and and that's because of the nature of the world that we live in. You know, but anyway, so like I was saying, like, you really need to look past a person's image. That's basically what I'm really trying to get at, is that, like, for women or whoever's listening, like, really look past a person's image, you know, and sometimes the more good looking, the more attractive that image is, like, the more sick and depraved that person really is. I mean, it's really like that. That's not to say that a very disheveled person with their life in shambles, or whatever. That's not to say that those people can't be evil. I mean, obviously, evil can look anyhow. You know what I'm saying? But you really need to be aware of evil that's dressed up as attractive, and because that's the one that people tend to miss and people tend to ignore. And so, for instance, like, okay, this is an old example, but I don't know if people remember Scott Peterson and Lacey Peterson. Scott Peterson murdered his wife while she was pregnant. I don't know the whole story about it, but I remember that being in the news many, many years ago. And you see this guy, and he's attractive, and he doesn't look like a monster. He doesn't look like a monster, but he is. You know what I mean? He is, and that's just one example. I mean, there's so many examples that you could find in the news, but I mean, to murder your pregnant wife, it's pretty sick. You know what I mean? And that sickness was within, and it was hidden. It was hidden. And I'm not sure what kind of work he did or whatever, but I mean, he looked like he might have been, like, working in corporate America or something like that. I really don't know, though. I mean, but anyway, so, you really just have to pay attention to those things that are within. Like, look at other things. Don't judge a book by its... I know this is like an old cliche statement, but there's so much truth in it. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't get taken in by these evil people, who are masquerading as angels of light. That's in the Bible, like in 2 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 14 through 15. It says, "No wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. Therefore, it is not surprising if his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness, whose end will be according to their deeds." So, I mean, this is biblical, don't judge a book by its cover. You just never know what's really going on inside of someone. And I'll even say, like, personally, the most like evil and sick guys that I've ever met in my life, they've all been like popular. They've all been like friendly. Sometimes, they've all had like they'll be friendly to certain people. But anyway, they all hide really well in cultural norms. One of the guys that I've known in the past was very active in his church, and he was like a very, very sick person. He even sang in the choir. I've known people who, like, there was a person from my past who was an avid bodybuilder, like lots of friends, always on the move, always doing activities and all that. And from the outside, it just looks like they just look like absolutely normal. They look like cool people to know even, but inside they were like sick, messed up, demonic, and ready to attack, whoever is like wounded, weak, whoever they think they can get away with attacking, whatever. And there's a good example in the movie American Psycho. Now, this is kind of an extreme example, but what I did like about that movie American Psycho is how it portrayed, the main character. And I don't want to spoil the movie for you if you haven't seen it and if you plan on watching it, but just pay attention to the main character and his mannerisms and his activities in his everyday day-to-day life, and I think it was pretty accurate as far as that's concerned. And so now, of course, that it's a violent movie. I'm sure you already know that from whatever, but most people like that, they're not going to be like that violent, like that, like outwardly violent, but they'll act out their violence in other ways by their methods of abuse. So they're violent in less perceptible ways, in ways that they could get away with. And some of the tactics are going to be like gaslighting, okay, which I'm sure most people know about now, which is when someone does something blatantly disrespectful or they violate your boundaries somehow in a very like just in your face way, and then they deny it, okay, and trying to make you look crazy. And then also like push-pull behavior. Push-pull behavior is when somebody is drawing you in with like some sort of friendliness, okay, and then if you try to reciprocate, you get pushed away or something like that. Like, push-pull behavior is just like this tug of war game. It's a game that they're playing to basically to make you feel rejected. And then there's other things like betrayal. These are all these are violent things that people are doing, although it may not be like they're stabbing you or whatever, but it's a form of violence. Like betraying your trust in some way. Maybe sharing like personal emails between the two of you, sharing text messages that were between the two of you with a third party or with a bunch of people, things like that. Things that are meant to hurt you and make you look bad. Calculated deprivation, which is, they're depriving you of love, of approval, or of something that you need, when you need it. It could be like maybe you need some money for rent or whatever, and maybe you live with your boyfriend or whatever and he doesn't want to pay, or or something like that, something that is meant to hurt you, and make you feel like you're not worth anything. Maybe it could be as simple as ignoring your phone calls, but it's calculated. Okay, and then it could go to other extremes, like stalking you to, you know, to show some sort of control, or they're obsessive, you're following you, mirroring you, which is copying something that you do to take away your individuality, and seeking to control you or to destroy you. Like, all these things are like tactics that they do, which a lot of other people discuss, but I just wanted to run through it real quick because you know people who do this type of stuff, these are real sick individuals, these are real sick people, and you need to be aware. Need to be aware that they're not going to look like crazy people off the bat. They're just not going to look crazy off the bat. Like, they're going to look like normal, everyday people. You know what I mean? Until they smell blood. When they smell blood, when a predator like them, when they smell blood, it's basically they smell a wound or a weakness that they smell, and that's how I call it. Like, they smell blood, like a shark. So then they're gonna attack. You see what I'm saying? And I have dealt with these attacks many, many times, to almost to a point where I feel like I'm a veteran of war. You know what I mean? Like, I've just seen so much extreme stuff, which is why I'm sharing it, with others, is because, this, I know I'm not the only one. So anyway, that's it for now. I'm just going to stop here. This is kind of like just a talk of kind of, it was longer than I wanted it to be, but that's okay. Hopefully you listen to the end and you learn something. I know this information is like, it's really spreading, and I want it to spread, and that's why, I wanted to also contribute, because I think like the more that people become aware of all of this stuff and learn, the more like things are going to be happening and changing. It's going to be interesting to see, when all this comes to light. So anyway, with that being said, God bless. You have a splendid day, and until next time, peace.